Hitman has always had a competitive edge. In Absolution, we're giving you the opportunity to prove yourself. To challenge your friends, challenge the world, and even make custom hits yourself.
We are at IO Interactive in Copenhagen, Denmark, talking to Torben Ellert, who's designing the contracts game type on the upcoming Hitman Absolution.
Yes, indeed.
So, I guess everybody's heard about sort of the gist of what contracts is at this point. So what I'm wondering is how does it work in practice? Like, if I want to put out a contract on somebody, how do I do it?
Well, it all comes down to play to create. And basically what you do is you start up one of the levels in the game. You walk through the level and look at whomever you want to mark as a target, and then you press a button on your controller or on your keyboard, and that's that. They're marked as a target. You can have up to 3. Then what you do to them and how you do it becomes the contract. So essentially, you play the game, and your skill in creating it, or unfortunately lack thereof in my case many times, becomes the contract. So if you can take out some kind of impossible sniper shot from across the map and take out a target in the middle of all of his buddies without anybody knowing what went down, that's the contract. But if you can't pull that off and you decide to go in with explosions and accidents or a chicken suit and a machine gun, then that just gets saved and put into the contract. So we're not talking about an editor. You just play the game, and we track these things behind the scenes, and then when you press save, it goes to the server and becomes a contract.
So when you're putting on the contract on somebody, you're playing the actual mission. You're not just walking around being incognito.
Yeah, it's not God mode or anything like that. So you really do need to pay attention to what's going on. So when you're creating a contract, oftentimes you do a couple of scouting runs first to see what you can pull off and what you feel comfortable with. And then the fun starts to come into it because you've got your first target and things are going really well, and you think, okay, I'll add in one more, and then it starts to go a little bit shady.
You get greedy.
Exactly. But then you come back and you try it again, and that's really the great thing about it, because you can keep trying, and then when you've really got the ultimate recipe, then you save it, share it with your friends.
And then I guess when somebody else is playing it, the contract just pops up in the mission as she's playing.
Well, we have a hub in the game called contracts where you can go in and find them. What we do though, however, is we choose certain contracts. We call them featured contracts, and we make those available on certain levels in the game. So, for example, when you're playing the library sequence, you may see a featured contract that will offer you a hit in that same area. And those contracts are either, or when we ship, those will be some that we've created, some of the good ones that have come out of testing. But after we've gone live, we'll definitely be watching for contracts that excite people, that people enjoy playing, and we may take some of those and make them featured as well.
So when I'm doing a contract, I'm still playing the level in the regular way, like the usual targets are also there, or
no. What we do is we try and shut down as much of the single player story mode stuff as possible, so you won't see cutscenes or anything like that. So we try to really cut it back to the core sandbox experience. So if you walk into Chinatown Square, the king will still be there, and he'll still be doing his thing, but he won't be a target.
Okay. So what I guess you said have seen contracts in testing and so forth. I guess what's the coolest contract you've seen so far, without spoiling anything too? Okay.
I think it's probably the one that I've talked about a couple of times before, but I'll pull it up again because it's a good example of how solutions. It's a good example of how there's always more than one solution to the challenge. The challenge was to take out a cop who stood in a crowd. And contracts have what we call bonus conditions. If you achieve these, you get a boosted payout, and the payout you want because you use that to upgrade your weapons. So this particular contract required that you hide the bodies, but this cop never moved. So he was just standing there in the crowd, and I saw a lot of people really tearing their hair about of how to get him out. And I was standing there thinking, "Mwahahaha, nobody's cracked my pattern." But then someone worked out that if he stood in an alley where one of the fry chefs, one of the fry cooks in Chinatown could see him, and he pulled his guns out, they'd panic. They'd run to the cop because he was the closest. They'd alert him, and he'd come to investigate. So I really like that because I'd done it in a very different way. I'd done it by using the disguise rules, because if you're wearing a disguise, you can get people to be suspicious and use that to lead them away. So that way of solving the challenge in a completely different way but still ending with the same result, the dead cop, was fantastic, and I really like that because I think it's in many ways it's the real art of contracts. There's always more than one solution, and in many ways, I'm certain there'll be solutions that we would not expect, because I mean, come on, our fans are always better at these games than we are.
That sounds like that pretty much covers it. So the only question that really remains is almost the usual question: when is the game coming out?
On November 20th for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC on Steam.
Excellent. Thank you, Torben.